In April of 2019, I had the opportunity to travel to Greece to study ancient Greek art and architecture. We started in Athens as a mainland home base, then joined up with a Greek island tour, with particular interest in sites on Delos, Santorini, Crete, and the area of the mainland around Nafplion. After departing the tour, we then planned more time in Athens, but also with visits to Corinth, Epidavros, and Delphi. Our biggest road trip was on the first day. We took a 4-hour plus drive to ancient Olympia, where we saw the ruins of the Temple of Zeus. I also got the chance to run the actual Olympic track. The blocks for the starting gate are still there. You can see people lined up near them. And you run straight out and then right back. As someone who's run for years and competitively a little in high school, it was kind of an emotional thing. For the next few days, we then explored the area around the Athenian Acropolis, and of course, the Parthenon itself. Going really gave me a much better idea of how the rocky Acropolis dominates the Athenian skyline, here shown from a nearby hill. This is a view from partway up the Acropolis, back at Athens, over the Odeon of Herodes Atticus. On the top is a view from the Temple of Hephaestus overlooking the Greek Agora, and on the bottom is the Acropolis from the later Roman Forum built under the Emperor Hadrian. On our fourth day, we linked up with our Rhodes Scholar Tour. Sarah and I were traveling with my parents and an aunt and uncle, and Rhodes Scholar is renowned for doing an academic focus on their tours with a gear towards senior travelers and families. On the left there is our trip up the steps of the Acropolis, and it was absolutely amazing. You pass as close as one is allowed to get to the Temple of Athena Nike, and on the right you can see we did make it on our fourth day to see the Parthenon itself, which is going undergoing a long renovation process, but it's still incredible to see. One side right now is completely scaffolded, and you could see the type of work that's going on to make this a more stable monument and a better monument to see in the future. In the detail, you can see how they're using rocks from the same source and many from the same age to restore damaged areas, again, to keep the monument in good shape. I was excited to see the new Acropolis Museum. The Elgin marbles are in the British Museum, and the Greek government would like them returned. One of the UK's criticisms was that Athens had no museum for them, so they built one. You can see the portions that were not taken away, with large gaps between them where the missing sculptures should be. All of this in view of the Acropolis through the large plate glass window behind them. It's a powerful statement. And leaving to the right the excavations that are below it that cover thousands of years of occupation in the front courtyard also makes another type of statement. Now, Athens does have some amazing antiquities that you can go and see, and by far the best collection is in the National Archaeological Museum. It has the most important Minoan pieces, the most important Messenian pieces. You can see some of the most important archaic pieces, whether they be pottery or whether they be sculpture, and you can see one of the few remaining classical bronze masterpieces there. With that Koros figure in the center is our guide, Georgia Papadopoulou. I want to thank her and the good people at Rhodes Scholar for making this just such a wonderful tour. Of course, we enjoyed Greek food while we were there as well. This is pork and beef souvlaki and a dessert of yogurt and honey. Greek portions are much larger than I'd anticipated. When this came out, we thought it was for the table, and then they brought 3 more. This gets called gyro or shawarma here, but it's souvlaki there. And I'd been expecting lamb to be the norm, but lamb is expensive and special in Greece. Several Greeks actually asked us if it was true that American Greeks ate and served lamb souvlaki, and sure enough, that is what we are used to. After about a week on land, we boarded the Callisto II, and it and its crew and chefs were just fantastic. From left to right, that's my Aunt Fong, my Uncle Jim, my dad Don Stevenson, and my mom Eileen Stevenson. It was just really special to get to take a family trip like this. Thanks, guys. It was absolutely wonderful. Now, between them in the back, you can see the bartender, Sonny, behind the bar, and he introduced me to the lower right image, which is Fix Dark. Greece is a rare country where great beer, wine, and spirits can be found. Usually you can get two or three, but it's rare that you have a place that does all of them well. And some of the best onboard moments were hanging out with my Uncle Jim and having a fixed dark after long days of touring. We hit quite a few islands, but I'm only going to talk about the important ones from an art history standpoint, and maybe a couple more because they're fun. This is Delos, home to the ancient shrine of Apollo, as well as its treasury and several other temples. In ancient times, people lived there, but today it's an unpopulated museum island, and it is really a pretty amazing experience. This is where far more people come. It's Mykonos, the tourist island that you have to launch from to get to Delos. It's famous for its windmills, which are really picturesque, and its crazy nightlife. I preferred the multi-generation icon workshop that you see on the right, where there were actually people in there painting. After that, we went to Santorini, which was ancient Thera. Today, it's an island that's kind of like a broken ring that surrounds a caldera full of water and a smaller island. In Minoan times, it was one solid island, and then the volcano blew somewhere around 1600 BCE, and that's how you get the shape that we have today, with a couple more eruptions in the middle. Um, Today, people go, I think, mostly for fun, and this is a sort of famous view with blue domes from the town Oya. It's even wine country today, so people go around doing wine tastings. But we really wanted to see the ancient city of Akrotiri, which was covered by ash in that eruption in 1600 BCE. It's like going to Pompeii, but it's almost twice as old. After decades of being unavailable, it's reopened in a state-of-the-art facility. And to the right, you can see that this was so well preserved that there were parts of the ash where wood items had been, and once the wood had decomposed, they left holes. So the people excavating poured plaster into them, and you can actually see things like wood bed frames. The next day, we made it to Crete and were able to visit the Palace of Knossos and the Archaeology Museum there, and just wow, what an amazing couple of things to get to do. Rhodes Scholar did a good job of balancing the time between tourist and archaeology interests, but I have to say, for my taste, I would have liked a lot more art in archaeology, so we'll just find our way back to Santorini and Crete to spend more time at the sites and museums someday in the future.